Good evening. You're watching the Urban Debate in Mirror now. I'm Faye. Thank you for joining us. First up, let's take a look at everything that made news today. India gears up to celebrate its 72nd Independence Day, and in the traditional presidential address, President Ramnath Kovind in his speech spoke about the importance of education and technology for the masses. He also condemned violence.
गांधी जी का महानतम संदेश यही था कि हिंसा की अपेक्षा अहिंसा की शक्ति कहीं अधिक है। प्रहार करने की अपेक्षा संयम बरतना कहीं अधिक सराहनीय है तथा हमारे समाज में हिंसा के लिए कोई स्थान नहीं है। गांधी जी ने अहिंसा का यह अमोघ अस्त्र हमें प्रदान किया है। उनकी अन्य शिक्षाओं की तरह अहिंसा का यह मंत्र भी भारत की प्राचीन परंपरा में मौजूद था और आज 21वीं सदी में भी हमारे जीवन में यह उतना ही उपयोगी और प्रासंगिक है।
The Indian rupee has hit an all-time low against the dollar. Each dollar will now cost you 70 rupees. Economists say this will have a direct impact on home budgets. Fuel and essential commodities like your gas cylinder prices will shoot up. The centre, meanwhile, has blamed global market pressures for the rupee's free fall.
The reasons are well published. It's part of global movement of currencies. With regard to the lira, other factors.
इकोनॉमी की दुर्दशा, आज रुपए की इस दुर्दशा, इससे आम भारतीय का उद्योग, आम भारतीय का व्यापार, किसान की आमदनी, इन सब पे प्रभाव पड़ता है।
देखिए, रुपी जो है, इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द इंटरनेशनल फैक्टर्स। टर्की का जो लीरा का जो डेप्रिसिएशन हुआ है और बाकी करेंसीज का डेप्रिसिएशन हुआ है, तो इसका आजकल कनेक्टेड इकोनॉमीज होती हैं, इसलिए रुपी पे इम्पैक्ट आना लाजमी।
And in a move that has sparked debate, 125 parliamentarians have submitted a memorandum to the president seeking a law to impose strict restrictions on large families, citing population explosion and the resultant pressure on the country's resources as the reason. The MPs have said couples shouldn't be allowed to have any more than 2 children, and the penalties should be imposed on those who violate that law. The penalty could include anywhere between removal of water rights, which seems unconstitutional, and also the inability to run for office.
The reasons are well published. It's part of global movement of currencies. With regard to the lira, other factors.
इकोनॉमी की दुर्दशा.
Well, that was the wrong bite there. I apologize to our viewers. In other news, sensational details emerge from the charge sheet in the Delhi Chief Secretary assault case. The Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been accused of orchestrating the attack on Delhi's Chief Secretary. The charge sheet debunks the Aam Aadmi Party's claim that the midnight meeting was called to discuss the doorstep ration scheme. The Delhi police have alleged that the assault took place over funds to advertise the government's 3-year anniversary. Aam Aadmi Party MLAs have moved the Patiala House Court seeking a restraining order from the Delhi police from sharing contents of the charge sheet with the media. And now a big update on the Tuticorin massacre. The Madras High Court has decided to bring in the CBI to investigate all the cases linked to the Tuticorin massacre. The police firing in Tuticorin district during the anti-Sterlite protest had claimed 13 lives. You'll remember the copper plant in question is currently closed for business, but the High Court has ordered it shut over violation of pollution norms.
சென்னை மதுரை உயர்நீதிமன்றம் ஒரு தீர்ப்பு வழங்கியிருக்கின்றது. எனவே இது சிபிஐக்கு மாற்றப்பட வேண்டும் என்று. அது குறித்து சிபிஐக்கு மாற்றுவதா இல்லையா என்பது குறித்து அரசு அது குறித்து முடியும்.
And Pune-based Cosmos Bank has been hit with a cyber attack. Cyber hackers allegedly hacked into the server of the cooperative bank and transferred 94 crore rupees to foreign accounts. Cosmos Bank, meanwhile, has issued a statement acknowledging that 94 crore rupees was stolen and transferred from those accounts. The bank, however, claimed no customer account had been affected. The bank has said a few dummy cards were used and the switching system of the bank was compromised by the hackers. The crime was executed through 12,000 transactions over 2 hours and 13 minutes from 21 different countries.
ये 94.42 करोड़ के घोटाले का मामला है, जो बैंकों का सर्वर एटीएम स्विच जिसे कहते हैं उसे हैक करके निकाला गया है।
पूरा ये क्रिमिनल रैकेट है, ये खाली साइबर अटैक और सिंगल ट्रांजैक्शन से पैसा बाहर गया ऐसी केस नहीं है। तो उसके ऊपर 21 देशों से अलग अलग एटीएम सेंटर से अलग अलग ट्रांजैक्शन से कितना पैसा निकलना, इसके लिए बड़ी कोई क्रिमिनल सिस्टम काम कर रही है।
The Congress party today alleged serious discrepancies in the Rajasthan state voter ID list, claiming that there were around 42 lakh fake voters in Rajasthan. The party demanded that the State Election Commission immediately scrutinize its electoral lists. This comes only a few months ahead of the critical Rajasthan Assembly polls.
It's not an allegation, it is an anomaly that we pointed out. Same name, same father's name, same age, same address. It can't happen that thousands and lakhs of people can have the same coincidence of having the same data.
And the Union's Civil Aviation Minister Suresh Prabhu has responded to the Air India financial crisis controversy we talked about yesterday on the show. The minister has said that the increase in fuel prices is the main reason that the airline is facing challenges. Meanwhile, Air India has also disbursed salaries for the month of July after a delay of 15 days.
All these issues are also addressed by the ministry through various means, and therefore this is also an issue which is already taken into account, and we are dealing with that. As you know, because of the increase in fuel cost, the airline sector, not just in India but globally, is facing serious challenges. This is not just in India, all over the world. All the airlines are really suffering because their cost has suddenly gone up. After a long period of lull in the oil prices, the oil prices have shot up. And because they are short up, this is one of the important variable costs which airlines in the short term cannot have business model. So this is a very important issue, and therefore this is something which is not just in India but globally. But you are absolutely right. Even all the airlines in India are also suffering because of increase in oil cost.
The drug menace in Kashmir is steadily on the rise as poppy is still being cultivated in large fields. The Excise Department has estimated that narcotics trade worth hundreds of crores of rupees continues to flourish in the valley despite a drive by the police to destroy poppy fields. Intending to curb the drug menace, the authorities have brought the drug trade under the ambit of laws like the Public Safety Act. But due to the lack of implementation, the drug mafia continues to flourish in Kashmir.
नशा और अद्वियात का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, खासकर चरस और खुकी, जिससे इनका सेहत भी खराब हो जाता है और माशरा भी तबाह बर्बाद हो रहा है। कुछ लोग इन चीज़ों का कारोबार भी करते हैं, इसलिए हम सरकार से मोदिमाना गुजारिश कर रहे हैं कि इसकी तरफ खास तवज्जो दी।
इस गैर कानूनी तौर से काश्त की गई फसल को तबाह करने के लिए महकमा एक्साइज हमेशा कमरबस्ता होता है।
Shocking visuals now emerging from Himachal Pradesh, where 19 people have died due to torrential rainfall. The latest report of casualty is a 5-year-old who drowned in the Kangra district of Himachal Pradesh. According to the district official, the body of the little boy has been recovered and the father has been given 10,000 rupees. While it has been raining incessantly in Himachal Pradesh for the last 48 hours, the Met Department forecasts that while rain is expected to continue for the next few days, the intensity might reduce. And an update on the Gauri Lankesh case. Stringent sections have been slapped against the accused in this murder. Section 3 of the Karnataka Control of Organised Crimes Act has been incorporated into this case. Section 3 of the Act deals with punishment for organised crime, as opposed to treating this like a normal murder. Under the Organised Crime Control Law, confessions made to a police officer above the rank of SP becomes admissible as evidence in court. Internationally, at least 22 people have died in a bridge collapse after a heavy storm in Italy's Genoa. Many feared still trapped under the rubble. We'll come back after this very quick break to talk about this new policy, two-child policy. Is it constitutional to tell people that they can only have 2 children? And is it also constitutional then, when you bring in birth control by law, to punish those who have more than 2 children? That's the policy proposal that's being put before the President of India. We'll have a conversation about that on the other side. Don't worry about it.
blackmail her and demand sexual favors. Suspension of these priests, he says, isn't enough. They should be thrown out.
The survey is not your test on patriotism. Shame on all those voices that believe that India is still safe for women. And shame on you if you want to look away from today's grim reality.
Yes, we need the development. Yes, we need the economy to grow. Yes, we need the industries. And yes, we need the jobs that come with the industries. But no, we don't need it at the cost of human lives. They cannot get away with this. If they can find the time and space and these resources to fix that road that has caved in today because the Prime Minister is going to visit tomorrow, then they better do it for every single taxpayer of Mumbai. Instead of sitting there and crying, why does he come here and face the music, face the law, face the agencies, give them your evidence, show that you're innocent and clear your name. What the governments of the day need to do is come out with new rules, with new laws, with new policy to crack down on this evil concept.
Every day, in every city, there's a story. A story that holds your future. A story that can make the present better. It's time to get real. Let's unravel facts. Let's focus on the impact. Let's discuss issues. Let's debate the risks. Let's take action.
We are your reflection. We are your voice.
Mirror now. You first.
A billion dreams. Under 1,000 suns. The gleaming hopes. In the choking air. Amid the burning hate.
It is unacceptable. This cannot be happening in my India. It is up to you and me to ensure that people are aware that there is fake news out and that mob violence is never the answer to any problem.
And the killer apathy.
बच्चों लोग की बीमारी, हम लोग की बीमारी, इनका लाइफ कैसे बनेगा आगे? ये प्रदूषण, ये फैक्ट्रीज तो बंद होने वाली नहीं है, लेकिन हमारी जिंदगी स्टॉप हो जाएगी.
Make somebody accountable. Start criminally prosecuting those ward officers who do not do their work.
We have picked many a bone.
I'm going to cut you off right now because this kind of hate is not allowed on our channel.
Beware those in power.
Why was the state government not able to stop the violence?
Our dreams can't be soured.
Are we going to be able to provide jobs to this young India that is ready and raring to go to build our country?
We are the people, and we have the last word. Mirror now. You first.
Lives matter, and lives should matter on a national level. I believe that if women are getting raped, if women are dying in this country, it is not a woman's issue. It is a problem with the country. It is a societal problem. It is a problem that the country has. To say that, okay, only if I track politics in Delhi is it a national issue, the rest of this are all people's issues is...
In the 80s, one of the government's big campaigns was about the two-child policy. Hum do, Humare do. Back then, it wasn't a law. Now, in 2018, a set of parliamentarians want to make this a mandatory law.
This is so complex. We have seen sharply divided opinions even within the BJP fraternity itself. Clearly, a lot of people would say and argue that even the BJP's house is not on in order on this one.
लगभग 125 सांसदों का एक हस्ताक्षरित ज्ञापन हम लोग जाकर के राष्ट्रपति को सौंपा है और राष्ट्रपति जी से मांग की है कि इसमें कोई एक कड़ा कानून बनाया जाना चाहिए.
Those arguing for the policy proposal say it will reduce the burden on the nation's resources by controlling the population boom.
जनसंख्या समाधान फाउंडेशन एवं 4 सांसदों के एक संयुक्त प्रतिनिधिमंडल ने 125 विभिन्न दलों के 125 सांसदों के हस्ताक्षर युक्त एक मांग पत्र माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी को सौंपा है।
But the opposition isn't buying this argument.
मध्य प्रदेश के 4 सांसद राष्ट्रपति से मिले कि जनसंख्या पर नियंत्रण होना चाहिए और उदय प्रताप ने इस मामले को पार्लियामेंट में भी उठाया था और मैं समझता हूं कि इससे सारी पार्टियां सहमत हैं कि ऐसा होना चाहिए।
बीजेपी एमपीज taking a signature campaign. First of all, they must convince the Sangh Parivar, their sadhvis, their people, MP like Sakshi Maharaj.
What cannot be denied is that India's population makes the economic development and prosperity a huge challenge. But does that mean that we penalize those who have more than 2 children? Mirror now asks, should you be penalized for having more children? Why is the opposition against the step to check population growth? Let's debate.
All right, joining me on the show to talk about whether or not this is the right way to bring population under control, or is it education, is it development? Vaibhav Agarwal with the BJP, Ashwini Upadhyay, lawyer with the Supreme Court, also one of the petitioners who put forward this initiative, Dr. Poonam Mutreja, Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India, Prerna Singh, spokesperson for the Congress, Ramakant Gaur, senior lawyer with the Supreme Court, and Kavita Ashok is an activist. So here's where we stand today. The proposal put forward actually talks about perhaps limiting the rights of those who have more than 2 children. Maybe the removal of voting rights, maybe the removal of the ability to run for office or hold government office. If one person has already had 3 children, are you going to punish them for the rest of their lives? It is not exactly a situation that can be remedied. Let me bring in Mr. Ashwini Upadhyay first, the lawyer who is one of the petitioners in this case. Mr. Upadhyay, please tell us what punishments you've recommended under this law.
No, actually law will be made by the parliament, but I have some suggestions, and everyone, I think you may have some suggestions, other may have some suggestions. What I filed in the PIL in the Supreme Court, I prayed that first of all restrict the person from contesting election, forming political party and becoming political office bearer who have more than 2 children. My next prayer is debar such person from government job, and my third prayer is, because we celebrate Polio Day every month, on first Sunday every month, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Kutch to Kamrup, we celebrate this Polio Day. If polio can be eradicated, if polio can be controlled, then the same way population can be controlled. If door to door polio drop can reach, then definitely condom and other medicines and medicines can be given to door to door. Door to door supply is not so much difficult. If we can manage, we can arrange, we can provide polio drop door to door. And most importantly, our total area is only 2%. If we compare our area of the India with area of the world, then we have only 2% land. Our population is approximately 20%. So 20% population of the world lives on only 2% of the land. If we compare our land with the China, then our area is only 1/3 and population rate is 3 times. In China, 11 children born per minute. In India, it's 33 children. So it's a huge difference. If we compare our economy with China, so my most respectful suggestion is that it should be done by means of education, by means of other way, and also by some legal provision like restricting such person from contesting election, forming political party, becoming political office bearer, getting government jobs, getting subsidies. Other things can be done.
All right, Ramakant Gaur, I can see you shaking your head already, but I'm very curious to know, if we look at the current makeup of Parliament, how many of those people will have to step down if this rule comes in? But Ramakant Gaur, go ahead. Do you believe this is constitutional?
This is something which is, A, this is not constitutional.
This is based on misconceived hallucination and presumption. I mean, I really don't know on what economic and statistics data he's talking about. The data is here that the United States of America has only 1% of global population, and that 1% use 50% of the energy of the whole planet. Now, 1% of riches of India holds 50% of wealth of the country. So this is the economic status. Now let us talk about the socialist perspective, and he is talking about the China. China has abolished its one-child policy because of the fact that it is failing and falling in the World Economy Index. When we talk about India, look at the statistics of Haryana, Rajasthan, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and other states as well, where female feticide is prevalent. You are promoting a female feticide and prenatal tests being conducted if we talk about this law, this policy, without taking other measures first. We need to educate, that's all right. We need to have a control over the population, that's perfectly all right. You're talking about the punishing and creating norms and the statutes, and in the name of that statutes, you are actually shrugging off the responsibility. We are proud to have the biggest and the largest youth population on the planet, whereas the government of the day failed to provide them employment. Yes, they are of marriageable age. They may produce more children, but what is not being talked about is to give them proper opportunity of employment and the education so that then they can be creative and productive. You are talking about controlling birth rate.
Are you saying that these young people will have more babies because they are unemployed and they don't have anything else to keep them occupied?
I'm afraid I'm not saying that, but this is what being perceived. This is being perceived. On the lighter note, that may be pondered, but as a matter of fact, this is perception being created and proliferated.
Okay, let me also bring in Dr. Poonam Mutreja, Executive Director, Population Foundation of India, before I bring in the BJP and the Congress to find out what their stand is. Dr. Mutreja, thank you for joining us. What is your reaction to the two-child policy that has been proposed to the President of India?
You know, I am absolutely stunned that 150 members of parliament actually went to the President without knowing what the reality is and what the data is. The data shows, and it's the government data, it shows that Indian families and women do not want more than 2 children. There are 30 million women who have an unmet need. They need access to contraception and they get pregnant because they don't have access to contraception. There are 16 million abortions in this country because people do not want the child. What better evidence do you want? If you look at other data in India, 20 states are now have minus fertility rates, minus growth rates, which means they've reached their replacement fertility without any coercion, without any of these measures, except states that did do the 2-child norm. You know, Haryana, UP, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan still have a 2-child norm for members of panchayats. They cannot be elected. No. Now in these states you have the highest female feticide rates. 1 minute. I also want to say that where women get educated, it is the best contraceptive pill, and keeping women not only educated but giving them jobs, keeping them in jobs. With reference to the earlier conversation in your show, yes, it reduces fertility. Job creation and people being in jobs, women being in jobs, decreases population. And in India, for anybody to say coercion helped, look at emergency and what happened when the Congress party had coercive family planning programs. Yes. family planning is not just a individual. It is two individuals, the whole family is involved. And main thing is that the poorest in India will suffer the most because they have least access to family planning services. Why aren't these members of parliament and the person, the lawyer who's introduced the bill, talk about improving family planning services? Lastly, I want to make a point, Faye. Have any of these people, including the lawyer, ever talked to our policy makers? You speak to anybody in Nirman Bhavan and they will oppose and not agree with anything in this gentleman's bill or what the members of parliament have said. Our data is the most robust and fantastic demographic data.
Right. Okay, so you want to, Ashwini Upadhyay respond to that. Census. One second, Ashwini Upadhyay, respond to that, Dr. Mutreja says you haven't had a conversation with any of the data scientists and your bill or your proposal right now is completely under-researched.
Actually, उनको जो कहना है, उनको अपना कहने का अधिकार है। जी। लेकिन ये जो 125 सांसद गए हैं, एकाएक नहीं चले गए। बाकायदा जो मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हैं वो जमीन पे होते हैं, वो अपना पार्लियामेंट में सबसे मिलते हैं, महिला से मिलते हैं, पुरुष से भी मिलते हैं। अब आपसे नहीं मिले तो अलग बात है, उसमें से कोई नहीं मिला, लेकिन सबसे मिलते हैं। और 125 सांसद के जाने का मतलब 25% ऑफ द पार्लियामेंटेरियंस को मिलते हैं। 25% सांसद जाके, आप मेरी बात सुन ले उसके बाद। और दूसरा मैं कह रहा हूं, अभी आप इस बार वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन डे मनाया गया, उस पे जो थीम थी,
मिसलेड मेंबर्स ऑफ पार्लियामेंट, मिसइंफॉर्म्ड।
एक बार जरा सुन तो लीजिए मैडम, सुन लीजिए
any policy maker in this country an opportunity to speak to members of parliament, they will change their mind. And I'm very happy this program is having the debate. We need this debate in parliament with correct information, not misleading them or misinforming them. सुनाइए, सुनाइए,
सुनिए, सुनिए, सुनिए। कानून पार्लियामेंट को बनाना है, आपको नहीं बनाना। सुन तो लीजिए, हमें जरा बोलने दीजिए। आई हैव द फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच। मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट सबसे मिलते हैं। अगर वो कोई गलत डिसीजन लेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से जनता उनको हरा देगी। वो दे आर अकाउंटेबल फॉर देयर कंस्टिट्यूएंसी। सबसे बड़ी बात यह कि आप इस बार यूएन का जो वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन डे मनाया गया, उसकी थीम देखिए क्या थी। पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल इज द ह्यूमन राइट। एक मिनट मैडम प्लीज, एक मिनट सुन तो लीजिए ना आप। इस बार यूएन ने जो अपना पॉपुलेशन डे मनाया है अभी इसी 7 तारीख को, उसकी थीम थी पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल इज ह्यूमन राइट। तो एक अगर कानून बनेगा तो विमेन एम्पावरमेंट होगा, महिलाओं को बच्चा पैदा करने की मशीन नहीं समझा जाएगा।
आप गलत बोल रहे हैं, आप गलत बोल रहे हैं,
मान लीजिए
आप गलत बोल रहे हैं।
तो उसको और चाहिए।
Okay, let me bring in the politicians. One moment.
Family planning,
Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal.
It's very important. It's very important for me to intervene here and let this gentleman know that he's misinforming the country. It was not population control. UN never uses population control. They said population access to family planning is a human right. So you're totally wrong. Please don't mislead.
No,
one second. Let me bring in the other members of the panel, please. Let me bring in the Vaibhav Agarwal of the BJP. Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal of the BJP. Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal of the BJP. Okay, एक मिनट मिस्टर उपाध्याय, बाकी लोगों को बोलने दीजिए। Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal of the BJP, please tell us what is the BJP's official stand on this particular matter? These are some MPs, not all MPs. So you have a split house technically, because you have some MPs that have placed this bill before the president, but you also have other MPs like Mr. Sakshi Maharaj, whose recommendation is for 4 children per Hindu woman. That's his prescription. You have another leader called Mr. Surendra Singh, whose prescription is 5 babies per Hindu women, because this is their prescription to save Hinduism. So I just want to understand, what is the BJP's official stand here?
So I'll tell you, this is a very interesting debate, and as I've just tweeted to you also, that I think this is a debate at the right time for the development of the country, where it is a debate. And what I feel is, कोई भी काम दबाव से नहीं, चुनाव से होना चाहिए. So this is the right time to have a debate on it. And have people, experts like Poonam ji, have all parties come in. My other colleagues from other parties will also come in. Now we understand that this is a concept and a letter in the exercise of the rights of the 125 member of parliaments from different parties, not just the Bharatiya Janata Party, led by the BJP, of course, but it's on their own. They represent about 12 crore Indians who have given this bill. Now we also understand that in December 2015, an BJP MP from Saharanpur, in a private member's bill, Raghav Lakhanpal, had also brought this up and cited some concerns, etc., etc. So it's a very healthy debate. Poonam ji has valid points that this complete recommendation shouldn't be standalone. I have my own thought processes where people like me, at my age, we are still in the process of planning our families. So it is an eye-opener. It is an ongoing debate, and where we see it, we all have different opinions on different subject matters. As and when, where I feel again, as and when it is a question of the country, and as and when we progress with the debate on this, more discussions will come in, more of Mirror Now such debates, informed debates will happen, and we will reach to a certain level of consensus and improved policy. I would probably recommend that if Ashwani ji and there are 4 other more litigants in a PIL, I would request Poonam ji to send in a letter to the litigants who have the rights to make Poonam ji and organizations like them a party to their application.
Mr. Vaibhav, you've spoken for nearly 2 minutes, but you've said nothing.
Absolutely for a debate.
You said nothing. I asked you what the BJP's official stand on this matter is.
I said it's a.
What is the BJP's official stand on the matter?
We're still in the process of developing a consensus on it, and we will see how it progresses. That's what we can say at this point.
Thank you. Prerna Singh of the Congress.
Say, we really encourage two-child, this two-child policy. However, we are very skeptical about BJP's intention in implementing this. Right. One reason is that, it is just coming 8-9 months before the 2019 Parliament elections, and since we know the ruling party very well, that, very soon we may see them communalizing this issue, and there'll be like many BJP leaders who will be popping up and making communal remarks on this issue. Another is that, enforcing it as a law isn't empowering women a better option, helping them opt for family planning measures and empowering them to opt for family planning. Isn't that a better option? BJP has nothing to do that. Rather, they are just using it as a propaganda because they have nothing else to go for in 2019 elections. They could not, 125 MPs have signed the petition. What about, other more than 200 BJP and his allies, who are the part of the NDA government? They could not they could not develop a consensus amongst their own party. How are they going to take it further? I have my doubts about it. And when we have Sangh people and BJP MPs coming up and making statements like Hindu women should have 4 children, 5 children, how are they sure of
what is the Congress stand on this issue? Congress is supporting population control or population explosion. Congress is population explosion.
Congress is very much supporting population control. We are very concerned about the population explosion. However, we are not sure of the intentions of the ruling party, because we are very sure that very soon they will use it as a communal agenda, and we will see BJP MPs communalizing this issue. That is what our
Prerna Singh, the Congress party does have a history when it comes to forced family planning.
The population control measures,
Faye,
people should be made aware, and like my other co-panelists have said, that family planning should be made more accessible, rather than
please suggest some secular suggestions, madam.
We are
please come out with some secular suggestions.
I'd like to do that.
Whatever I'm talking is secular only, but I have just shared my fear. I have shared my fear, and I have shared the fear of
fair
every
enough. We've heard from all of you. Vaibhav Agarwal, I do hope we can keep your attention
Faye, please, may I come in here?
Yes, Poonamji, go ahead.
Yes, I want to just respond to some of the points that were made because there are too many myths and misconceptions around population issues. The first thing I'd like to say that the poorest in India and people who are scheduled caste, scheduled tribe has the least access to family planning. Only 45% of them have access to family planning. So the people who will suffer with this coercive law is the poorest. And as far as Congress parties fear that there is a possibility of communalizing the issue, let me make it very clear that whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh, if you're illiterate and poor, never mind your religion, you're likely to have more children. So let's invest in education and enhancing development and income for the poorest. Third thing I would like to say is that we have met many members of parliament who believe like these 100... No, please, can I finish? Please allow me to finish. I am against the Sanjay Gandhi mission of coercive population policy. He suffered, they lost the elections, so you should learn from that coercion is not going to work and it's anti-women. Do you know when the bill was passed for panchayat elections, a coercive bill in Haryana and a few other states, people divorce, men divorce their wives on paper. They abandon women and they disown children. Let's have a policy and a program and a bill that is pro-women. Women of India, if you ask me, the most empowering approach for women of India is to provide them access to family planning. Because women have
speaking complete lie. It's a complete lie.
Wait, hang on. Kavita Ashok.
I'm speaking on the basis of data.
It's a complete lie.
Please do not.
Yes.
Please do not.
One more voice, please. Let me bring one more voice in. Kavita Ashok hasn't spoken yet.
Given that you have not read any data, given that you have not seen any study and you haven't spoken to a single policy maker. Policy makers in India, in the health ministry, are the most well informed, and they will never agree with you.
Supreme Court.
Okay,
so
I have given the best practices of the world. I have given entire word calculation in the Supreme
all right.
Court.
Kavita Ashok will make her opening statement, please. Kavita Ashok, please go ahead. Do you believe that this rules will be anti-women? One second, Mr. Upadhyay, I just want to explain to our viewers what the concern is. So if a family is only allowed 2 children, which means that the number of chances you have to have that boy baby have actually now come down to only 2 options, right? So the chances are that you will lead to more abortions, you will lead to more girl babies being aborted, and that is a very, very serious concern. Kavita Ashok, do you agree with Poonamji that it is anti-women, or do you agree with Ashwini Upadhyay that this is the route to go down?
You know, the Supreme Court has already rejected 3 PILs for this. So it's a clear-cut sign that this kind of a policy does not hold any ground. And I firmly believe that, you know, a baby is not the, decision of only a woman, as she's trying to, portray that it is a women's issue. It is not. It is a consent between a father and a mother, firstly. Then there is the gender bias that you just mentioned, Faye, that of course, because if we impose this kind of a thing on the family that you can only have 2 kids, I want to ask, what about people who have special children? You know, if there are children who are born with special needs, would that prohibit the parents from having another child? And then secondly, also too much of female, feticide will happen because India still thinks in the old manner. We are still old school. We want, baby boys. Like I have 2 girls, but that's my wish. Maybe another family would have wanted a 3rd kid to try a boy, that maybe we can have a baby boy. So I think that instead of focusing and pushing people like we did in Rajasthan, there's one minister in Rajasthan who made a very weird statement. He said, we should, impose this on Muslim community because they are having too many babies. I mean, they are trying to do this in a very Hindutva kind of an angle. Let's put politics aside.
Totally, it is human right for a family to decide how many kids they want, whether it is 2 or 3. Let the government work. Let us have better policies, give better job opportunities, employment, infrastructure, education, schools to our people, empower not only women, but also men. We have to change the mindset of the father also, not only the mother. So my take on this, Faye, is that let there be better vikas or development that like the government is promising. Let us do work on that angle instead of imposing this kind of an inhuman law on families saying that you cannot have beyond 2 babies even if you have a special child.
I just want to point out that while it's well and good to say a baby is consent, one second, while it's well and good to say baby is consent between husband and wife in a country where marital rape is still not considered rape, which means that a husband can rape his wife at any point and she can't do anything about it. And if that wife does not have access to birth control pills, then it is not consent. That woman is not getting pregnant by consent anymore. And far too much of our country lives in that reality. And that's the reality we have to acknowledge. Let's consider the fact that the average child per mom, which is called the TFR, the fertility rate, is highest in UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Assam. These states contain 28% of our total population, 30% of the maternal deaths, and 50% of the infant deaths, which means the poorest part of our country is where the women are at most risk, where the children are at most risk, and where education has not found its way. Vaibhav Agarwal, go ahead, please.
Okay, so excellent points that you've made, and the panelists are, I absolutely appreciate the special child point made by Kavita ji. Poonam ji has valid points, and so does the petitioner. Now, as I said, I think the way I look at it from the citizen perspective, as well as I said that I'm still in the process of planning my family. When I look at it, and I also have the power to make this happen today as being part of the government. When I look at both the sides, I see a few factors in this, and the way I look at it is that in a policy like this, if we are actually going ahead with a public affairs policy with respect to something like this, which is family planning, we'll need to input some kind of checks and balances after properly considering and taking into account the various facts that come in from different voices of the society. Not just that, we will also have to go ahead and make an extensive study, exorbitant study on the matter of social factors that have to be considered, because you see, our lives, when we implement a policy like this, which will influence the complete social change across the board, this will actually get dependent on various factors across the society. Now, this could be the entire ecosystem in a food division, for a supplies division. The education policy will have to be tweaked. The jobs policy, everything will have to be tweaked. We also have to understand that there'll be economics of its own, there'll be medical things of its own, and so on and so forth. There'll be right now, like for example, abortions are criminalized per certain extent. Whether that then, you know, how do we deal with that? There's a lot of debate that has to happen. Yes, and as I said when you were talking, this is exactly what I was thinking. This will definitely need more work on it. This cannot go in just like that.
Yes.
All right, I'm opening up this debate now for all of our panelists. Ramakant Gaur has had a point to say. Ramakant Gaur, go ahead, please.
There are three perspectives which have not been considered by Mr. Upadhyay and these member of parliaments. Kavita ji has rightly pointed out several petitions were dismissed by Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court does not make policy. Yeah. So Ashwini Upadhyay might have approached the apex court with the best petition ever, but he missed a few points. It is a violation of Article 21, 45 and 51. Coupled with the fact that India is a signatory to United Nations Convention of Right of Child. India is also a signatory of International Conference on Population and Development 1994. And India cannot backtrack from that. This is the legal perspective. As far as political perspective is concerned, 80% of the people who wanted to participate in as a candidate who were from OBC, SC and ST were debarred just because of the norm of 2 child. So in Panchayat Raj election, it happened.
Right.
And the database is very much there on records. Mr. Upadhyay can refer to that.
No.
As far as the economic, just a minute, Mr. Upadhyay, please.
Did it help in the elections?
It did not.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as third part is concerned, it has social ramifications. Economy, as far as the economy is concerned, female is the biggest sufferer to that. China is the example. We can look into the data which is available. We need not to refer to the Google. There are other ways and means for the search, as Mr. Upadhyay referred. Now, as far as the elementary part is concerned, education is there, medical health care is concerned, other contraceptive measures are concerned. You are not providing those educative materials and other assistive.
Yes. In fact, I have one question. One question here, picking up from Ramakant Gaur and from Puramji. I have a question from Mr. Ashwini Upadhyay.
Can I come in?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to come back to you. But first, Mr. Ashwini Upadhyay, would you tell me, please, of the people who went to submit this to the president? We're looking at some of the footage that came in of all of those who signed, all of the people you discussed with. How many women were part of this group? And how many women or people who work in the area of women's issues did you include when you were formulating your petition?
देखिए, पहली बात तो मैं आपको बताऊं कि अगर एक ऐसा टू चाइल्ड ला आएगा तो उससे महिलाओं को बहुत प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगा।
नहीं, वो मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं है।
पर्टिकुलरली कुछ एक एरियाज में नहीं, प्लीज डोंट इंटरप्ट मी। आई हैव लिसन यू वेरी केयरफुली, प्लीज डोंट इंटरप्ट मी। ऐसा एक कानून आएगा तो महिलाओं को बहुत फायदा होने वाला है, क्योंकि कुछ एक घरों में, कुछ एक जगह पे, कुछ एक क्षेत्र में महिलाओं को केवल अगर 2 बेटी पैदा हुई तो तीसरी बेटी, तीसरी पैदा हुई तो चौथी बेटी, चौथी पैदा हुई तो 5वीं बेटी, इस तरीके से बच्चा पैदा करने की मशीन समझ लिया जाता है। जब एक कानून आ जाएगा तो नेचुरल सी बात है, उनको भी अपना राइट टू लाइफ एंड लिबर्टी मिलेगा। 2 बच्चों के बाद स्टॉप तो स्टॉप, अदरवाइज उसके ऊपर एक्शन होना है। तीसरी बात मैं बताता हूं, भारत के 8 राज्यों में ऑलरेडी कानून है। हरियाणा में है, एमपी में है, बहुत सारे राज्यों में है, जहां ग्राम प्रधान और पार्षद आपको बनना है तो 2 चाइल्ड आपके लिए जरूरी है।
और अगर किसी के पास 3 बच्चे ऑलरेडी हो,
कोई पैनलिस्ट कह रहे कि नहीं
ऑलरेडी 3 बच्चे हो, तो फिर क्या करने चाहिए? वो बच्चे को त्याग देनी चाहिए? क्या करनी चाहिए? क्या होगा वो तीसरे बच्चे?
नहीं, ऑलरेडी नहीं, ऑलरेडी 3 बच्चे हैं तो चुनाव लड़ना कोई फंडामेंटल राइट थोड़ी है। आप दूसरा काम करिए, पॉलिटिक्स में क्यों आएंगे आप? रहने दीजिए पॉलिटिक्स में आने के लिए। चुनाव लड़ना कोई फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट जॉब पाना कोई फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं है।
तो ये एलिमिनेशन, प्रोसेस ऑफ एलिमिनेशन हो गया मिस्टर उपाध्याय। आप कह रहे हैं कि अगर किसी के पास 3 बच्चे हैं तो वो हमेशा के लिए डिस्क्वालिफाइड हो गए। ये कैसा रूल है?
नहीं, अगर आपको मेरी बात नहीं सुननी है, आप
सवाल तो करने दीजिए।
देना चाहती, मेरा सुनना ही नहीं तो ठीक है, आप मैसेज दे लीजिए।
नहीं, मैं सवाल तो कर रही हूँ, आपसे सवाल तो करने दीजिए। और मेरा सवाल आपसे बस यही थी कि आपने क्या महिलाओं को इन्वॉल्व किया था ये पॉलिसी ड्राफ्ट करते समय, ये पिटीशन ड्राफ्ट करते समय? आपकी टीम में कितने महिलाएं थी?
बिल्कुल इसमें बहुत सारी महिलाएं हैं। मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूंगा, बहुत सारी महिलाएं।
नाम मत लीजिए, नंबर बताइए मुझे। नंबर कितने
यूपी से हैं, एमपी से हैं। मैं कहता रहा हूं ना, मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट है। 125 में कई सारी ऐसी हैं जो महिलाएं हैं, मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हैं। इसके अलावा बहुत सारे एनजीओ से फीडबैक लिया गया है, बहुत सारे और भी सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हैं, उनसे फीडबैक लिया गया है। ऐसा नहीं कि एक होगा। और दूसरी बात, जब पार्लियामेंट में आएगा वहां सबके पास अपनी बात कहने का अधिकार होगा। वहां सपा, बसपा, कांग्रेस सब लोग अपनी अपनी बात रखेंगे ना। भाई, पॉलिसी प्रेसिडेंट को नहीं बनाना है, प्रेसिडेंट को एक रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया गया है। अल्टीमेटली अगर जब कोई कानून बनेगा तो पार्लियामेंट में आएगा। ये कोई स्टेट लॉ तो है नहीं। अगर पार्षद के लिए और ग्राम प्रधान के लिए राज्य सरकार कानून बनाती है, वो हरियाणा ने बना लिया, आपके मध्य प्रदेश ने बना लिया और कई सारे स्टेट ने बना लिया। अभी पिछले साल मध्य प्रदेश में 2 जजों को निकाल दिया गया। 2 जजेस थे, बाकायदा नौकरी कर चुके थे 7-8 साल तक, लेकिन उन्होंने छिपाया था हमारे 3 बच्चे हैं, निकाल दिया। उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं। वो लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट आए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी उनकी पिटीशन डिसमिस कर दी गई। तो ये कोई फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट जॉब, राइट टू कंटेस्ट इलेक्शन, राइट टू फॉर्म पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, ये कोई फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं है। ये सब्जेक्ट टू वेरियस कंडीशंस है। अगर ऐसा पार्लियामेंट सभी पार्टी के लोग मिलकर बनाते हैं तो बहुत अच्छा होगा। अब मैं आता हूं दूसरे विषय पे।
देखिए अश्विनी उपाध्याय, मुझे आपसे एक ही चीज पूछनी है प्लीज, मुझे आपसे एक चीज पूछनी है प्लीज, एक सवाल पूछने दे दीजिए मुझे प्लीज, पूछने की इजाजत दीजिए, एक सवाल पूछनी है आपसे।
और सबसे बड़ा इशू है हमारे नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज का। नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज हमारे इतने कम है, एनवायरमेंट का पोल्यूशन बढ़ रहा है।
वन सेकंड मिस्टर उपाध्याय, मेरी आवाज आप तक पहुंच रही है कि नहीं? आवाज तो सुन लीजिए प्लीज। हमारे देश में मैरिटल रेप इलीगल नहीं होता है, इसका मतलब कोई भी पति अपने पत्नी पे कभी भी जबरदस्ती कर सकता है और वो ना नहीं कह सकती, वो कुछ नहीं कर सकती। इससे जो अनवांटेड प्रेगनेंसीज होते हैं, जब एक बीवी ना नहीं कह सकती है, जब एक औरत ना नहीं कह सकती अपनी खुद की बॉडी पे कि मुझे नहीं करना है अभी, मुझे बच्चे पैदा नहीं करने, उसके अधिकार नहीं है उनके हाथ में अभी, इंस्टेड ऑफ फिक्सिंग दैट प्रॉब्लम, अगर आप लोग वो प्रॉब्लम पे ध्यान देंगे,
नहीं, बिल्कुल
तो ये आपका जितने सारे आपके नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज पे ज्यादा जो जोर पड़ रहा है कम होगी मिस्टर उपाध्याय, लेकिन यू आर नॉट फोकसिंग ऑन गिविंग वुमेन देयर राइट्स।
अरे आप सुनिए तो मैं आपका जवाब दे रहा हूं, आपने सवाल कर लिया, जवाब सुनिए। उससे बिल्कुल जब टू चाइल्ड ला आएगा तो जेंट्स कभी फोर्स नहीं कर पाएगा। अभी क्या होता है, 2 बच्चे के बाद अगर 2 बेटियां पैदा हो गई, तीसरी बेटी
कभी फोर्स नहीं कर पाएगा, ये तो हमें
कानून आ जाएगा, उसको पता है, उसको पता है, अब वो चुनाव नहीं लड़ सकता, अब वो गवर्नमेंट जॉब नहीं कर सकता।
This is very
and I'm going to turn this question now to all of those people who are concerned about the population growth, as to the fact that we live in a country where a woman cannot say no to sex from her husband for whatever reason. She cannot. We are not allowed to say no. Do you realize we live like animals? We are not allowed legally to say no to our husbands. Our husbands are allowed to rape us. This is the status of women in this country, and we're talking about bringing down the population. Vaibhav Agarwal, I hope you Googled the answer to this question. Why aren't we considering actually outlawing marital rape in this country before we consider these sort of
if you want
far-fetched answers to our problems?
I can
as I totally respect what you're saying, and it surprises me, you know, when I understand laws like these, it surprises me too, because I mean, what is it that you can't do without consent? I mean, without permission. I mean, how funny is that? So I totally concur with what you're saying.
It's hardly funny, but
that if we can give importance to the two-child policy in the country, we should also, on the same side, try and give some importance to making marital rape, consider making marital rape illegal, and make it punishable under law, and etc., etc., etc. So I totally buy your point. I am not the right person to answer that, because I am not privy to as to what the Home Ministry is looking at, but I would definitely be interested to take this forward as a voice, as a takeaway from today's debate, and probably in the coming days I should be able to get you an answer that yes, we are considering it, and we will try and make it forward, because women have their issues. We all know there are unsolicited pregnancies. We all know that marital rape, it's the word itself, the term itself sounds funny. So yes, absolutely, it should carry an equal weightage, that's how much I can say on this subject at this moment. But I'm being honest about it.
You are being honest about it, because I'll tell you that all of the women on the panel were offended that you thought that it sounded funny. Kavita Ashok,
can I come in?
Of course. Yes. All right. 1 second. Poonamji, I
want to say something right now.
Poonamji, go ahead, and then Kavita Ashok. Poonamji, go ahead.
Please, may I say something now? Yeah. I want to, hello, sorry.
First, I want to say that compared to given what I'm hearing from the lawyer and the 150 members of parliament that agreed to his petition, I am very encouraged to hear Vaibhav. He's sounding so reasonable. He's giving the right suggestions. I want to add a few suggestions here. And the suggestion that I'd like to add is, why don't our members of parliament and your party run up to the election focus on strengthening the family planning program, making more money available? Do you know that only 4% of our entire health budget, which is, we all know is really low, only 4% is spent on family planning? another good way for population stabilization while empowering girls is to not only keep them in school, but to decrease age at marriage. Penalize instead those who marry below age 18, parents who marry their children, or priests or whoever, people who participate in the process of early marriage. Third, the quality of family planning services in India it's an ICU, it needs huge improvement. And please see the Justice Lukur report where the Supreme Court, in response to a PIL, has outlined what India needs to do in its family planning program. We need population stabilization. I totally support anyone, a lawyer or a non-lawyer, but with data, with information, and speak to policy makers, please. Nirman Bhavan has the best data analysis and access to data, and their minds have been put into making family planning more accessible in 148 of the most high fertility districts. There are efforts being made in the ministry, but I believe they're totally short of money.
Right.
They're totally short of funds. BJP
Faye, can I come in now for this
money available.
All right, Kavita Ashok, please. Kavita Ashok. Kavita Ashok.
The last point I want to make
is, please let me speak now. Please let me speak now.
Look at the sex selection data and the sex ratio
Ma'am, will you let anybody else speak?
No, all right, 1 second. Could we just speak to Kavita Ashok, please? Kavita Ashok, go ahead.
Yeah. So I would like to say that instead of the BJP leader and everybody else who believes in the politics of everything, people are framing this policy, this two-child policy. I would like to suggest that why don't you frame something which gives women more participation and representation in the parliament, give us reservation, which is so pending, give us voices to be there, and represent our female, citizens there. Secondly, there is marital rape, there is domestic violence, there is female feticide, there are 100 issues regarding women. So please do not try to nullify everything by saying if you have 2 kids, everything is solved in this country. It's not going to be. And secondly, as a woman, I'm telling you, we are tired of being told, don't you wear this, don't you eat that, don't you go sit in the park, don't you date this person. It's becoming too much. Now you're coming and trying and telling us that instead of we crying about rapes and no security in the country for women, we have too many issues to handle. We have too many issues. Yes. Yeah, there are so many issues. Please don't try to push this kind of a weird policy imposing on us. I think, education would be a better answer.
We've run out of time on this conversation, and like pointed out by our panel, this is obviously something that is going to require far more debate than what seems to be reflecting in the PIL that has been placed before the court and the proposal that has been placed before the president. Even the photograph of the ministers meeting with the president shows that there is only one woman in the room. At the end of the day, we are a country that needs to focus on the population. You will also see that the worst cases of population fertility, the highest numbers, are really among those states and those communities where education is at its lowest. We can fix that with education. But please, for heaven's sake, we are still a country that takes away a woman's right to say no to her husband. A husband can rape a woman whenever he wants. It is not a crime in this country. That should be the first step. To return to women their right to say no. If a woman is able to say no to her husband, she is then able to take control over her own fertility. If a woman is able to go out and work, she is able to take control over her whole life. Those are the solutions. Include more women in parliament, include more women in your decision making, include more women in your planning committees. No proposal, no law, no rule that will affect the way women live in this country should be made without 50% of the room being female. You can no longer speak for us. You can no longer make decisions for us. We're here now and we demand equal rights. Thanks for watching.